Hello everyone, this is Wyatt Mingjilim, also known as Walking Problem on this channel. So today, something a bit more different. I want to introduce you to something that I have done. It's called the Singapore Football Revolution White Paper. So this is actually a white paper that I've created um, that details all my ideas and thoughts and opinions or things that I would do, or I hope that people will do to revolutionize Singapore football, because Singapore football have been really in the trenches for in the down for some time. For no Ever since we left the Malaysian League, Malaysian Cup, I think many people would have agreed that Singapore football seems to go down ever since. Now, after the first few seasons of the S League, that seems to be doing pretty well. After that, things seems to just go downhill because of lack of progress or lack of growth in the Singapore League. And in my opinion, from what I have seen actually from archives, newspaper archive, I think that things did not really change at all. It had always been like this. It's just that it is more obvious, or people are talking it a lot more because of social media, of the internet. Um, so I believe that if you are here looking at this content about Singapore football, I believe you might know who I am. Especially if you are very active in the football discussion online, like in the past, maybe 10 odd years ago or more. There's a Kallang Raw forum. I'm actually one of the moderators in the forum because I was so active in the forum, and I made so many friends there, and a number of them actually became somebodies within the Singapore football circles. Like some actually went to become journalists. Some created podcasts, very successful Singapore podcasts, and for me, I have been contributing by actually by actually doing the Singa Cup, as well as early this year, I also with other partners started the Singapore Youth Football League. Singa Cup, I was one of the co-founders, and I've been supporting the Singa Cup, which is a Singapore-based international youth football tournament, which we have like over 30 countries over 10 countries. We have like multiple countries. We have thousands of participants, of players, coming to Singapore. It has been suspended. The physical football part has been kind of suspended over the in the last year because of the pandemic. But this video is not talking about Singapore. It's also not talking about the Singapore Youth Football League. Actually, it's more talking about the aspirations that I have for Singapore football. I think because I am a designer by training, and I actually do consulting work and advice in terms of design through design thinking, design methods, and strategy design, and to come up with things, ways to get things done, and to change things. More often than not, it comes down a lot to resources. So within my sphere of work, sometimes it's very hard because like my own things, or even for Singapore Cup, it's very hard because of the lack of resources. But in terms of football, in Singapore football, I believe that because of the support from the government, football association do have resources, and so this purpose of the white paper, I kind of like just write it here. This will continue. This white paper will continuously be updated and improved upon, and I also plan to come up with a more formal version. So this one is more like a write-up version. There will be a more formal version. Maybe I'll do it in a PDF format, maybe with photos and more graphics and infographics to kind of explain my points, and to try to allow people to visualize what I'm talking about. So the last updated was on the 11th of November. So this white paper, which outlines my plan, Wyatt Mingjilim plan, and my vision for Singapore football, and especially right, so if I am put into a position of power to make the relevant changes that is set out in this white paper, And the end goal or the mission of this proposal within the white paper is to drastically revolutionize the entire football ecosystem in Singapore. So Singapore football can stop the stagnation, or at least the perceived stagnation or decline, by the public since Singapore left the Malaysian league system in 1994, which most Singaporeans actually claim that that era is the climax of Singapore football. I personally do not necessarily agree fully that that is the truth. I think in terms of achievements, I think Singapore actually achieved a bit more by winning the Tiger Cup, which is the ASEAN title, 3 times, which we always struggled to do prior when we are still in the Malaysian league system. However, during the Malaysian league system, especially the last 2 years in the Malaysian Cup, 93, 94, maybe even 92, we have overwhelming interest and support from the Singaporeans in Singapore football. However, it's not really in Singapore football. It's actually only in that team that is actually playing in the Malaysian league. So, as I wrote here also, that this paper will actually be continuously updated and refined. So this video, at the moment, I won't be going through the entire paper because this is really long. You can see it's not just a joke thing. It's like a very serious thing. It's seriously long. I think the last check was like it's in the thousands of words. So I will actually go through point by point in future videos. I can show you at least the key points. These are the agenda. There's multiple different things that it's actually rather comprehensive. It actually touch on every single thing within Singapore football, how I will change things or how I hope things can change, and it touched from the management in terms of football association system, in terms of membership system, in terms of organizational structural changes, and to how the league is set up, the clubs, the funding, how things are supposed to be fun or what it should fund, all the way to even what it means for what is the purpose and objective of the football association. And of course there's a lot of other things in terms of like national service issues, in terms of investing in the human capital within Singapore football. There's also in terms of press freedoms, and there's also address some things about national team selection, because I think that there are perceived biasness when we come to national team selection. Of course, there's also facility and a bit of futsal. I'm not very versed with futsal. I do think that we are totally neglecting it. I think that should be addressed as well. But this one is still very thin in terms of details, because a lot of my thoughts is over the years, over the 10-15 years. I think it's around 15 years already since I was like really into Singapore football, because I was never really that into Singapore football. In fact, the people that are into Singapore football includes like my uncle, who brought me to the Malaysian Cup match. He brought me to 2 either league or cup match at the National Stadium, the old National Stadium. When I was still in primary school, and that is the only 2 times the experience that I had, but it had such a deep impact, in like to really understand what is the fervent of the Malaysian Cup era is. And I watched the 94, I think 93 or 94, the cup final, where we the final time that I actually was still in the Malaysian league system, where we won the double. The final was electrifying, even watching from home, the live telecast where you can hear the whole neighborhood cheering. And that's the only time, that's the only moment that it was like nothing to do with politics, because I stay at Hougang. So in the future times that you actually hear this kind of thing, is either it's New Year, or it's actually something to do with the Workers' Party winning the election. So and let me see. So this video is meant to be an introduction to just to talk a bit about why I wanted to do this. And I'm not sure if I will ever run. I'm a nobody now, so or at least I always tell people that I'm a nobody. So maybe someday I might run. I might try to run for the presidency, for the football association. That will really depend on whether I can form a team that believe in my visions and believe in believe in me and believe in the things that I wish to do. And which is why I feel that this white paper, I have to put it out. I have to actually tell the world. Even some people that when they run for positions, or maybe even for FAS, they might keep a lot of things to themselves. They don't want to keep their ideas, or like the trump card to themselves, and maybe then they can like not inform your competitors about what you plan to do, or even not to inform the incumbent what you plan to do, so that they don't hijack your ideas or whatever. I personally do not have this kind of thing, because first, the kind of thing that I want to propose, I don't even think the incumbent in the FAS would dare to do, because it involves a lot of destruction of their own clout, their own power, their own monopoly of the Singapore football system. It also kind of like there is a kind of pact between the Singapore Premier League, or formerly known as the Estate Clubs, the management or whoever, with the FAS, and they represent the majority of the power and the financial spending of all the grants that was given by the Singapore government, or by Singapore Pools, or the Tote Board. And this money is not it's not really filtered down to the rest of the league system. And I also find particular problem with the election system of the FAS, where the only members that can vote is also the members approved to be members by the FAS, and I find that's a problem as well. But then you have so many of these lower league teams, clubs that can vote, and then it kind of unbalance the entire election system, where it's a bit like Thailand's political system, where the rural folks will always outvote the urban folks, and then the urban folks is the one that are the elites, and they cannot accept. And we haven't seen this problem yet in Singapore football, but this day might come. And then and I don't really wish to see the leadership of the FAS to make stupid compromises, and just to hold on to power, and keep the elite system working. I really don't want that. So the fast way to kind of like explain the philosophy behind the white paper is actually, I read it up right in the early part. It's actually to do a lot with how Singapore actually, the country Singapore actually become very successful, the core tenets that what makes Singapore successful. And number one is actually democracy, the will of the people, and the accountability to the public. I think this is extremely lacking in the football system in Singapore, because the Football Association is actually a closed system, and then the voting members are only the associate members, which is the clubs, the football clubs, or the organizations that is approved by the FAS to be members. And I think we can see the problems with this, I feel, in my opinion, of a massive reduction of the National Football League clubs, which is now known as the Singapore Football League clubs. These NFL clubs, I remember there used to be at least 3 divisions, and then now I think there's left only 2. I remember seeing 4, but it's my memory that failed me. So there used to be a lot more clubs, and it's only to the benefit of the management, or the whoever that is in power, that you have lesser of these NFL clubs, because the NFL clubs, if you give them voting rights, they will outvote the Premier League clubs. I mean, this is quite common sense, right? So, and even for NFL clubs to vote, they are not really representing the will of Singaporeans. So when we always say that, when we always have the FAS calling Singaporeans, or to support the national team or to call on to say that this is the home of Singapore football, or to say that they represent Singapore football, I don't think it's accurate at all. I think Singapore football is now controlled by a very elite group of people. I don't really know who are they, to be honest. I do not know how they came about to be. Who is actually controlling everything? It's very hard to tell. Even if some of them is actually voted in, they always have these feelings. Some people will always comment that there's some on the background people that's actually pulling all the strings, and I don't care lah. Ultimately, it's like I believe in democracy. I feel that the current system is not representing Singapore, and I think this is also the main reason why investments is hard to come by. People who are really good in their trade, in their industry, who have the money, who have power, don't really want to invest into Singapore football because it is a oligarchy or a monopoly. And I think that this is to change. And the next point is meritocracy. So result orientated, the better you perform, the better opportunities to uplift yourself to the next level. I believe that meritocracy is somewhat vague. To put it nicely, put it in a way that is more gentle. Because there is no relegation system within the top level league. Because they keep insisting that the top level league have to be fully professional. And then this year or last year, we have Lion City Sailors become full pro, and then suddenly we have people saying that this is the first professional club in Singapore, and I find that astounding because what the hell are we having the past 10 years? Isn't that professional league? All these professional players and professional clubs, and then suddenly we are being told that the first professional club is actually Lion City Sailors. You see you see the problem, right? It doesn't make a lot of sense, and this lack of promotion and relegation between the top and second tier league, it just doesn't make any sense. The worst performing top tier league team can never be relegated. Then what kind of meritocracy are we talking about? They will continue to get $1 million or more in terms of grants to fund their clubs, while the best team in the second tier league will not even get 10% of that. Right? That says everything about the meritocracy, in Singapore football. And I don't even want to talk about the national team selection. So everyone have their views. I don't know enough. So the next point is capitalism. So in Singapore, why we are so successful is because we embrace the free market. And the impetus of the masses will drive improvement and development. So what this means is that in a free market system, everybody have equal opportunities. Everybody have a chance to actually contribute into the market, and may the best idea win. May the best invested or the best execution wins. And this actually comes back to the point where I was talking about the meritocracy part. People are not able to actually do anything. Let's say I have $100 million. I am a multi-millionaire and I want to invest in the league. I want to do my own league club. But then you realize that there is actually you can't actually send a team into the Premier League club, into the Premier League. You can't do that. You can't send it to the Singapore Premier League. You don't even have a chance to actually build it from the bottom up, because there's no promotion to the Premier League. It's an exclusive. It's what they call a franchise league. It's exactly the same kind of concept that was rejected in Europe and in ASEAN. The ASEAN Super League, the European Super League, both are rejected. Why? Because they are franchise leagues. It's an exclusive monopoly or oligarchy kind of league, which is exclusive, and it takes elite members or special members to be inside. And this is what the Singapore Premier League is. So why capitalism doesn't work? Because None of these clubs that is in the Premier League, other than LCS now, is actually an independent club. All of them are actually owned by FAS. Is in essence, how would Home United sell itself to LCS? Is because the Football Association sanctioned it. So, is it a free market? No. It's more like, the entire Singapore market is actually all dominated or controlled only or exclusively only have Temasek linked companies. Put it that way, like, or government linked companies, or they are all NTUC. You cannot have Sheng Siong, you cannot have Giant. It's all NTUC. That's the kind of system Singapore football seems to be in. And then the next point is a foreign direct investment. This is FDI is a very major part in the Singapore story, where we go from a decent but small economy, and how we actually grow into the economic miracle that Singapore is today, is actually through foreign direct investment. Which, to translate into Singapore football terms, is that we should not be xenophobic, and we should embrace and mobilize the huge expat community in Singapore to contribute to Singapore football. I think this is very this concept is very the opposite of what a lot of the Singapore football fans, at least the people that care, is very my thinking of this is actually opposite from them, because for them they should kick out Albrecht, kick out Brunei, we should, this is not, they are not Singapore teams, this kind of thing. And then some people are not happy about Etoile FC, the French team and all this. I think differently. I don't think it matters whether they are foreign or Singapore teams, because football is football. It's 11 versus 11. If you cannot beat them, you cannot beat them. That means you're not good enough. So, but Singapore as a country had always mobilized and make full use of all the different culture and nationalities and people that is here in Singapore. We make full use of the human resources that we have in Singapore, and that's how we are so successful, so colorful, and so attractive to the rest of the world. I believe that the expat community and the international kind of we can make full use, I just put it in this way. We can make full use of this special thing, of special kind of like how to put it, a special situation that we are in, where most other countries do not have, because we are a metropolitan society. We have a lot of different country of people, and if we can tap on this potential in some ways, for example, having foreign teams is just one of the ways, but we can but I'm not sure fully. I have some of the ideas I've put in. I believe all this will be able to help Singapore football in the longer run, put it that way. The next is education. So Singapore have extremely good and high level education. We are among the best educated country in the world. In fact, we constantly ranks easily in the top 3 in the world in terms of education standards. And the people, which is the human capital, is the greatest asset of Singapore, I wrote. And I believe that it's the same applies in Singapore football. We need to make full use of the human capital that we have, and we need to invest and attract top talents, not just in football, but in terms of commercial, in terms of industry, into Singapore football. And we'll talk about it more in the future. Multiracial and united, regardless of race, language, or religion. A football career should be accessible and considered by all races, all socioeconomic classes, and all segments of society. I believe there is some kind of stigma when it comes to having a career in Singapore football, and that's actually very apparent when you see a lot of the Singapore parents, Chinese parents, do not allow their kids to actually have a dream to be in Singapore football. I believe this trend is slowly changing. I've seen a lot of Chinese parents actually, investing a lot into their kids to play football nowadays. But whether this translates into them becoming professionals, I'm not that sure. We have a few more, Chinese players, but I think the case is not just about Chinese players. I'm talking more on across all races and across all socioeconomic class. I think there should be a lot more the kind of makeup of the Singapore professional players should be across all different races and all economic classes and all different educational level. I think that should be the way. And when we do achieve that, that will be a sign of a very healthy football ecosystem that we have in Singapore. And the next point is union movement. The strong Singapore's government industry union tied up is one of the main reasons for Singapore's success, and unions directly shares their concern and contribute to the shaping of policies. Something is largely missing in our football ecosystem. So this thing is actually referring to the tripartite, where we in the NTUC we have the government, industry, and the union coming together, forming this tripartite that it helps the government to craft policies, to address concerns and to relay information, and allowing Singapore to develop peacefully but efficiently into what we are today. And this is very unique because we are only one of the few countries where the unions actually able to enact change in government policies without going on strikes or riots. Union movement in Singapore is actually rather powerful. It's not very apparent from the outside, especially for workers, but I believe that people who are in politics, they actually do see the power of the union. And that's why when we look at in terms of election period and in Singapore politics, they always talk about the labor movement, or this is the labor chief. It sounds like they are very powerful or very important. Where normal people, like me, sometimes we cannot really sense it. The closest thing we can sense about unions is always NTUC, and that's just a supermarket. But the truth is actually there is a huge difference the unions are making for Singapore. They're addressing their concerns directly to the government, and they can be rather aggressive from my understanding, from what I heard. And I believe that this is lacking in Singapore football. The players, no one is speaking out for the players. The players are kind of like, that's why we have so much problems for the Singapore professional players, where their careers are very short, and then no one is able to effectively complain the under 23 rulings, which effectively damages senior players career. No one is able to speak out on the taking out of teams from the league. Like when Tanjung Pagar previously was like being taken out of the league, then it's like suddenly you have one team lesser. Suddenly you have like 20 over. No openings gone for professional footballers. Given the number of teams we have today is ridiculous. Why would anyone want to consider professional football as a career? So, and similarly, maybe the lack of unions for coaches, for players where I've mentioned, for all sorts of different things. I think this is something that I will be addressing within this white paper. So I wrote this line because I truly believe this is what Singapore football seems to be. We are like North Korea. The FAS is behaving like North Korea, or at least our football system seems to be like a semi North Korea kind of thing. And I wish Singapore football can develop to become a lot more like Singapore rather than North Korea, where everything is centralized, everything is centrally controlled, everything is top down. I believe that things should be changed. That can be top down because a lot of things need to be top down to create the structure and the ecosystem or the systems and the fundings, but it should also be ground up. So what Singapore have in terms of top down and ground up concurrently, I think that's the kind of the best system that we can have. And So I believe that with all the democracy, the meritocracy, the kind of open systems, I believe that we'll be able to achieve a massive progress, and we're able to fully realize the potential in Singapore football. I believe what we are having now, we are severely not fulfilling the potential that Singapore football can be. Just in terms of population, in like most of the players are Malay. It's nothing racial about this, but we are effectively only utilizing maybe 20% of our potential. Put it in a simple way. We are not tapping on the other 80%, the Malays, the Eurasians, the Chinese. All these other people are not even considering Singapore football, football as a career at all. And I think that means we are only utilizing only 20% of our potential power, and we already achieved this much. We already have been ASEAN champion for 3 times. So I believe we can achieve much more. To qualify for the World Cup, I think it's possible. We have countries like Holland, or even Iceland. Iceland is just as big as, in terms of population wise, they're just one Tampines. If Tampines can go to World Cup, don't talk about the whole of Singapore. This is the kind of potential that we are missing, and I feel that it is something that is worth revolutionizing Singapore football for. I can also share a bit about some of the key points that that is actually inside this white paper before I close off. So this is one of the big ones. In fact, this is the most important one, that the mission of FAS need to change. It have to become a growth facilitator rather than a monopoly or a central power that controls everything. It should not be controlling everything. It will be controlling quite a lot of things, inevitably, but hopefully, as things progress, if let's say my plans are able to work out, it need not need to be controlling of everything, but it become a facilitator. It become a kind of a scaffolding for everything to grow. I will talk about the membership system, which is the voting member system. I will be talking about executive committee and the term of management within FAS. Talk about the union, which I talked quite a bit earlier just now. Funding and expenditure, club eligibility, the club tier system. This tier system is talking a lot more about we have full professional, but we also can have amateur and semi-professional. So it's talking about this tier system. We have FAS clubs. This is recognizing something that's rather obvious. Then we have expat foreign-centric clubs to address this issue, and league system revamp, cup tournaments, women football. I think this is one of the big things that is in recent years that is growing in Singapore. Transfer system, players contract, which is rather almost non-existent at the moment. Youth football system, Go 2034. I will address something about that. I think there are some revelations from the Go 2034 team. I think that's from the government side. I read through the press release. It is pretty evident that it's a very government-centric thing. All the things that they're going to do is more of what government is within the government jurisdiction. It's not really a FAS thing. So I do not see there's a clash. In fact, I see that whatever I'm proposing is actually a complementary to the Go 2034. I'm pretty happy with what I saw, how effective it is. I will talk about it in the future videos when certain topics actually coincide. National service issue. This is something that I added very recently. Human capital development, post-football career development. This is something that we are severely lacking. Freedom of speech and expression and press relations. This one is a major problem in Singapore football, and that's also why press coverage of Singapore football is so terrible. So national team selection, facilities, and so this the key points, the agenda within this white paper, the section or the the table of content, which then will be all addressed here. I will continue to improve on this, and then hopefully I will do a proper PDF. And if you are you can actually go to this link, go to mingjilim.com. That's my name, mingjilim.com, and you can actually able to find this white paper within the blog. And if you're interested to talk to me about this more, you can actually contact me. I'm pretty easy to find through the Facebook or whatever. We can meet up, whatever. Especially if you're part of the current football system, you're one of the chairmen or committee members within the NFL clubs or SFL club or whatever you call it. That would be more interesting, because I do want to know what you think, and I hope to build a team. Now I'm not sure whether I will run in the coming election, which is still 4 years away, because the election was just over, right? So, but I want to put this out there. I want to see how people think about it. I want to attract people who have the same opinions and view and vision as me. And if you feel like you want to shape my ideas, you can also contact me. I hope that at least if I don't run, at least I try to push a discussion or a conversation into a different realm, rather than talking about all this very superficial thing that who should be our national team coach. I tell you, the national team coach cannot do much, because you can only cook the dish based on the ingredients they are given to you, and our ingredients is very limited because our league is very limited. And sad to say, all the investment into all this, the Go 2034 or all the elite academies or whatever, we can have such a huge base of youth players. And I can tell you, I'm involved in youth football in Singapore. I can tell you, our youth players are actually very good. Our youth systems, the youth football ecosystem in Singapore is actually very strong. It have developed so much over the past 10 years. You cannot believe it until you actually is in it to see it for yourself. Youth football in Singapore is now very strong, very, very strong. But the huge base suddenly have a choke point when it's 18 years old or 17 years old. The moment they leave the schools, there is no more league system for them. There isn't even a prime league now. There is no lower leagues that really have a meaningful that is really meaningful for youth players to join, to develop themselves, so that they can actually upgrade themselves into the higher leagues. Everything is very controlled by the Football Association's selection or system, and so much talent, so much potential is all going to be wasted. Most of them is not going to go into professional football, and that's the reality in Singapore. That's what the white paper is trying to change, and I hope you will go and read it. It's really long. It's very hard to digest. You have to throw away some of the preconceived notions of what Singapore football should be like in order to understand some of the things that I'm trying to say. And if you're really not sure, but you feel like it's very interesting, you can also contact me. I hope to link copy with many of you. If you really care about Singapore football, especially you are someone that is within the football system, and especially you have voting rights, even better, because I want to gain your support in the eventuality that I actually do run. But for now, I don't think I have the profile. I don't think I have the kind of alliance or even the kind of slate to win. I'm just being honest. I'm a nobody. So, but this thing must come out. I don't want to be one of those people that always commenting, talking so much on social media. I have done that in Kallang Law. galangraw.com. I already done that like for a good 5 years at least, I think. And then after that it translates to the social media on Facebook, because after that Facebook got popular, and I really kind of like sick of it, to be honest, because it does not matter how much we talk, how much we argue about Singapore football when we are outside the system. It's pointless, because like I said, only the people that are running the NFL clubs have a chance to vote. Don't even talk about the Premier League clubs, the professional club. And everyone else we don't have a say. We do not have a say at all. And I think the NFL clubs, I'm not sure, but within this white paper, I kind of like laid out the benefits of this system that can help everyone feel that you can buy in into this revolution. I really hope that this will make a difference. I hope that at least the ideas can be translated out to be transmitted to more people, to get more people to think Singapore football in a totally different kind of way, to know on how it should be evolved and developed, rather than just sticking to what we have now. The current system will not be able to evolve on its own unless drastic change is done. If you depend on the current monopoly kind of system, I don't think anything will change, because everybody will protect their own power and interest. It's only when you spread it out, when everyone have a chance to contribute, to grow, to collaborate together, then I think the system can work. I shall not drag this video anymore. You can read it on your own. Any problem, any question, you can just contact me on Facebook. Wyatt Ming Jilim. It's quite rather easy to find me. I'm the only person in the world actually with this name. So and hopefully if you know someone that would be interested, or have who is in the system, or have a say in the system, or have influence in the system, do introduce them to me as well. I hope we can build a strong network, that we can have a discussion and debate on these issues, on my ideas, how to make it more practical or more workable, or to even form a team to challenge the incumbent. The current incumbent, they're doing a decent job. Not that they didn't do anything, but I don't think they will be able to do the kind of revolution that I'm pushing for. So thanks for watching. I know it's a rather long video. It's like, oh my god, 40 minutes already. Yeah, so I'll see you in the next video when I do cover individual topics. So if this video is going to be 40 minutes, I think I will take 10 hours to go through this entire white paper. So I'll see you in the next video.